Welcome to Rockingham Speedway here in Corby for what should be a thrilling encounter of the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship. The field mainly consists of radicals. The only odd one out is David Palmer in his Spire GT3. Still a very quick car, and around this circuit it's going to get really interesting. So with that, let's get straight into the action. Here's Andy McEwen with race 1.
Thank you, Anthony. Here's how the grid lines up then. It is Lee Torrey and Joe Stables on the front row, ahead of Philip Cooper and Richard Stables, then Joe Lock and Adrian Reynard, ahead of Chris Preen and Doug Carter. Julian Caldwell and Mark Boot are next, then it's Adrian Williams and Robert Rees, Ashley Hicklin and David Palmer, with Charles Adrian and Mark Grayson at the back of the field. The red lights go out, we're away and racing, and it's an evenly matched start from both front row men, but the red and black car from the outside, pole position, Lee Torrey, he will lead through turn number 1, on board with Philip Cooper in third place, but that's Joe Stables going up the inside now, trying to take the race lead back, down into the braking zone of the Dean Hairpin. He's going to go through, so Stables takes the lead back away, and in fact Lee Torrey is rather mugged there, because around the outside goes Philip Cooper into second, so he goes from first to third in one fell swoop, and now Cooper is going for the race lead. Look at that, at the inside of Joe Stables, through Chapman, through a Graceland, excuse me, get the right in a minute, Yentwood, then in towards Chapman Curve, and he's not quite going to get through, but this is a very racy Phil Cooper at the start of this first race of 3 this weekend. Remember that Philip Cooper and Joe Stables were the 2 race winners from the opening rounds at Alton Park last time out. We had the opening rounds were supposed to be at Donington Park back at the end of March, but were snowed off. We then went to Alton for 2 races. A triple header though, the usual format here at Rockingham for the first time this season, rounds 3, 4 and 5, and it is already looking like a fairly feisty race. Oh, into the gravel though goes Julian Caldwell, and that's a real shame for Julian, the number 69 car off into the gravel at Gracelands. Now that's certainly the end of his race. That might require a safety car, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. Yellow flags out at that part of the circuit as the leaders descend upon the Brook chicane for the first time, and it's going to be the SR3 radical that leads the way over the PR6 radical of Cooper in second place. The PR6 not quite as quick in a straight line, but maybe a little bit quicker through the corners. As you can see, it's much smaller profile of that car, and it therefore is a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble through the twisty stuff. And of course Rockingham has a real mix of both the high-speed flat out sections like the one they're on now, and then the infield section is very tight and technical indeed. So back through the Dean Hairpin they go, and red lights in the distance. Yep, red flag I fear is coming out. The race is being stopped, and that's as a result of Julian Caldwell's car. There it is in the gravel at Gracelands. So ready for a restart then. Back to the original grid, of course, because we never did complete the first lap. It will still be a 13-minute plus 1 lap encounter, and it's going to be Lee Torrey from the outside of row 1, Joe Stables on the inside, and it was Joe that got the lead, not initially, but down into the Dean Hairpin for the first time on the first attempt at starting this race. Is he going to do the same sort of thing this time around? Let's see then. On board with Philip Cooper, who was in the mix right from the word go as well before. Down towards the start-finish line they go, and red lights go out. We're away once again, and they really fan out. It's another good start made by Torrey. Not such a rapid getaway this time around though for Joe Stables, and so Cooper will come around the outside and challenge him. That might mean that Lee Torrey is able to hold on to the race lead down towards Dean this time. He defends the inside line. Around the outside will look Joe Stables. They're 3 abreast into the corner. That won't work surely, and it's Phil Cooper that gets hung out to dry. The black and blue car of Joe Lock comes up the inside, but it will still be the same order then. Torrey leads the way, Stables second, Cooper around the outside again though into Yentwood as they get all a little bit boxed in together. Then through Chapman Curve, but Torrey has been able to hang on. Torrey was on the podium twice at Alton Park, but didn't quite manage to get himself onto the top step. Had a second and a third place finish, but now he really wants to try and get that first win of the season to catapult himself fully into the championship equation. Back out they go. Of course, Lee Torrey running in Class A. The cars around him running in Class B, though, Joe Stables and Phil Cooper. So Class B cars tend to be the quicker ones outright, but Lee Torrey is running fairly well. As I said, he was on the podium outright on both occasions at Alton Park. But this may be a slightly more high-speed circuit, possibly will suit the Class B cars a little bit better. We'll have to wait and see as the race progresses. They're certainly very close together at the front of the field, though. 2 black radicals at the front of the field, 2 SR3s. It's up the inside though for the PR6, and through will go Phil Cooper into second place. Joe Stables comes back at him though into the final part of the chicane. Can't do it, so the red car stays in front, but could be a sitting duck in a straight line. Let's see. Phil Cooper onto the power. That's just dropped them back a little bit further from the race leader. Further back, Mark Boot here, trying to get up the inside of the number 15 car, Robert Rees, and will do so, I think, going through turn 1. Should be able to make that move stick fairly safely as they make their way down into Dean for the second time. Well, no, look at that. Reese came back and in fact on the inside of him goes Andrew Reynard. So in the end, the place lost there, but that was out of absolutely nowhere. Adrian Reynard, who must have had a bad start because he started 6th, but he's not running 6th anymore. Now goes up the inside into Yentwood to try and get past. Oh dear, to try and get past Robert Reese, runs wide in failing to make the move stick and could lose that place straight back again through Chapman Curve. Look at the helmet there, wobbling from side to side. You can see just how vicious the bumps are and how vicious those curbs are too in these low-slung sports prototypes. And it's not a particularly comfortable ride when you go at these sort of speeds this close to the ground, but nicely done there. Makes the place straight back up again past Adrian Reynard, and now sets back off after Robert Reese does Mark Boot. Back out of Gracelands they go, down towards Tarzan. One of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. Got the blue and orange car of Doug Carter there in the background, trying to get up the inside now of the 16 car of Ashley Hicklin, who's one of the cars running with a novice cross on the tail of it, meaning he's a relative newcomer to racing. Downwards braking, another look at the inside for Reynard, who'll be a bit miffed about this because he should have been in front of most of these drivers really, but it's just not quite worked out. Big slide though there for Reese in front of him though, and so Mark Booth will try to capitalise on that and keep an eye on Adrian Reynard, because this is where Reynard got a double slipstream a lap ago and tried to pull past the pair of them. Doug Carter there looking to the inside of Hicklin again through turn 1, but can't quite do it there. Down towards the braking zone. Well, Reynard's not close enough, but certainly it looks as though the 26 car of Mark Boot is close enough to have a go. Goes around the outside of Robert Reese there on the way in. Doesn't make that one stick, but then Robert runs a bit wide on the exit, and so Boot gets back alongside. But frustratingly, the next 2 corners are right-handers. He continues to go around the outside though, and might just have made the move stick. Can he turn it towards Chapman? Sort of, misses the apex there. He wasn't quite sure whether Robert Reese was still there, but he wasn't. He'd made the move stick, and Mark Boot finally picks that place up. Will now try and take advantage of the clean air in front of him. Out of Kirby, up and over the hill, gets out over the curb and the grass though coming out of the corner. Luckily he's built up enough of a margin already over the cars behind that they're not able to take full advantage of that. And so Mark Boot now sets his sights on the cars up the road, although it's hard to believe there are any cars up the road because he's fallen, as a result of this battle he's been having, he's fallen so far behind the top half dozen or so. It's going to take him the rest of the race probably to get on terms with anybody else. Here are the leaders, and Philip Cooper in 3rd position now, so it has changed again at the front of the field. He's back behind Joe Stables then, who's into 2nd position, and Joe will now go off after Lee Torrey, who is some way up the road still. Down into Dean Hairpin they go, but Joe, having found a way past Cooper, will now be trying to make good his escape. Phil Cooper has other ideas. He was just looking to the inside there into Dean, but he was some way back, not really close enough to make that one stick. Through Yentwood, first of these 2 tricky 90-degree right-handers. The second one even trickier though, this one at Chapman Curve, because it's off camber through there, and then you have to get it back over to the right-hand side of the road. For Kirby, you have to sacrifice speed out of Chapman to get the best line into the Piff Path, and then this double apex left-hander of Kirby. This is the first apex, just about picks up the second, but you can see the time that he lost through there to Joe Stables. Joe is definitely pulling away from Cooper. Is he catching the lead? That's the next question. On board with Philip Cooper, you see it's a fairly sizable gap between the leading 3 cars now. They're all fairly well spaced out, and then an even bigger gap back there to the rest of them running in behind. So looks like that is going to be the top 3 set, but of course they could still change positions amongst themselves. Unlikely though that they're going to get caught by anybody else behind. Through the final left-hander go the leading 2, and is that gap coming down? I think it probably is. Joe Stables looks for me as if he's a little bit quicker than Lee Torrey, and yes, the gap does come down that time, so the lead gap shrinking, the gap between 2nd and 3rd. Look at the way that's opened out. Phil Cooper just can't quite go with them. Richard Stables there is in 4th, and then 5th place for Joe Locke in the black and blue car, who was a little bit racier than that on the first half a lap or so, but then just slipped backwards slightly as the race got underway. Onto the brakes into the Dean Hairpin, and that number 8 car of Joe Locke, another one of the SR3s. That's the SR3 RS. There are a few varieties of the Radical SR3 out there in this race. We've got the standard SR3 of the likes of Joe Stables and Ashley Hicklin and Adrian Reynard further back running the SR3. Then you've got the SR3 RS of Joe Locke, and then the RSX, the most up-to-date version, being run by 3 drivers. Lee Torrey is one of them, leading the race. Chris Breen and Adrian Williams, the other 2. And as Anthony mentioned pre-race, we do have one non-radical, which is David Palmer's Spire GT3, but that car not quite on the pace this weekend. Joe Lock, though, looks like he's finding a bit of pace. He's closing in on Richard Stables now as he heads into the Tarzan hairpin. Chris Breen, that was, I think, in the background, the red and black number 2 car in his RSX, just there, closing in slightly. But is he going to be able to catch these 2? Perhaps doubtful. They are fairly short races, as I've said, just 13 minutes plus 1 lap. So if you start out of position, or you have a bad start, or you have something goes wrong at the start of the race, then you're never that likely to get right back to the front of the field before the checkered flag falls. The good thing is they've got 3 races over the course of the weekend, though, here at Rockingham. They start the next one based upon second fastest lap times from qualifying. So even if things don't go quite your way in race 1, in theory you could have a non-finish in race 1 but still start at the front of the grid for race 2, which is one of the benefits of that sort of qualifying system. At the moment, though, most of the front runners from the grid, albeit in slightly different order, are still running towards the sharp end of the field. So Joe Lock still trying to close in sufficiently on Richard Stables to have a go. They're not a million miles behind Philip Cooper either, who is just starting to slip back ever so slightly. He was the winner of the opening round of the season at Alton Park. Joe Stables had himself a podium and a race win, whilst Lee Torrey got himself a podium, in fact 2 podium finishes. It's the same 3 drivers on the podium in each race, but in a completely different order. So Lee Torrey, the only man missing out on a race victory. He is leading this one at the moment. Back out of Tarzan goes this 4th place battle, and it does look as though through the infield section, actually, although it's not necessarily what you'd expect, it is the SR3 RS that is a little bit quicker than the car in front of Richard Stables, the PR6. Same car, of course, as that of Philip Cooper. Richard Stables running within Class A and Philip Cooper within Class B, because there are some slight performance modifications been made to the cars, which means they're not quite in the same class anymore. So back down towards the Tarzan hairpin they go, through the double apex left-hander, back with Mark Boot now in his PR6. He's got a lonely road in front of him, but I'm imagining there's someone not far away behind him. You never have that lonely a race in the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship. Down in towards the Dean hairpin goes this Doug Carter and Robert Rees battle, and still Ashley Hicklin is not far behind as they turn out of the hairpin up towards Yentwood once again, and through the first of these 2 right-handers into Chapman. Back out of Gracelands is going Philip Cooper, excuse me. 3rd position for him. And in danger possibly of being caught by Richard Stables and Joe Lock, but I don't think they're quite going to have time to get there. Back out of the hairpin, there you go, Mark Reed approaching that part of the circuit in his PR6. And yeah, he's not a million miles ahead of Adrian Reynard, actually, who has cleared this 3-way battle going on behind between Rees, Carter and Hicklin. Carter there, the meat in the sandwich between the 2 slightly bigger examples of the radical sports car. Turns his way back down into the Roberts chicane Brook chicane, excuse me, at the end of the lap, and Doug Carter again can close in through the middle portion of the track, takes a really tight line out of the Brook chicane, but then just can't quite complete the manoeuvre. He'll be in the slipstream though, down through turn 1, and that car is not slow in a straight line, and of course because it is a bit smaller, it's maybe a bit more aerodynamic, just lacking in outright power, but you wouldn't know that from the way that he's driving it. And he is looking up the inside. Brake lights come on simultaneously though, and there are yellow flags because Adrian Reynard is going auto testing, weaving his way not particularly well, it must be said, through the cones, but he's had a moment, gone straight on, and then wipes out one of the cone markers on the way back onto the circuit. So he loses 3 places as a result of that. He's now got to find a way back ahead of the drivers that he's just been racing with. So that will be adding to the frustration for Adrian Reynard, for whom this race promised much but has delivered relatively little, unfortunately. He started 6th, but he's not going to finish there by the looks of it anymore. He had worked his way back into 6th place before the... he worked his way into 7th place before that latest moment. But I don't think that's been his first moment of the race. So back out of Gracelands, getting in now towards the final 3 or 4 minutes or so of this one. And at the front of the field, it is still Lee Torrey leading away from Joe Stables and Philip Cooper, but the battling in the midfield is where it is at its most intense. And Doug Carter, you sense, is getting a bit frustrated here at the fact that he can't find a way past Robert Rees, who defends the inside into the Brook chicane. And looks to try and get a better exit from the corner. Again, he gets himself alongside, but can he complete the manoeuvre? Checking on that in a moment though, because for now we ride on board with third place man Philip Cooper. No one in front of us. Someone probably not that far behind by now though, because I do think that Richard Stables and Joe Locke have been lapping quicker than him. Are they going to lap quickly enough to really start applying the pressure? This, though, is for the race lead. Talk about pressure. Lee Torrey has now been caught by Joe Stables and made a bit of a mistake then going through Gracelands. Runs a bit wide at Tarzan as well. And Stables is up the inside line, side by side down towards the chicane. But the inside line is occupied by Lee Torrey, and he will hold on to the position for the time being. But for how much longer? Because Joe Stables is clearly the quicker of the two. He's been able to close down about a 3 or so second advantage. He gets a much better exit from the chicane, gets up the inside across the start-finish line, and now it's a drag race down towards turn number 1. There's blue flags waving for the back marker in front as we go on to the final lap of the race, and Lee Torrey just about seemed to have the grunt in a straight line there to hang on. As long as he gets through the Dean hairpin in the lead, that will be arguably his biggest defensive job done. There's a back marker that means that they both have to go single file anyway into Dean, but Torrey just drifts a little bit wide. Stables, he's clearly quicker through the twisty stuff. They almost trade a bit of paint there as they come out of the corner. Torrey defending in towards Yentwood. Now he might run wide on the exit, which he does, and up the inside will go Joe Stables. He's got the inside line for the next right-hander as well, and he does it. Joe Stables takes the race lead with only just half a lap to go, and can Lee Torrey fight back? Well, the rate at which Joe Stables has been going, you would probably imagine the answer to that is no. Through Kirby, back up the hill they go towards Gracelands, and already it is Stables getting away, but a remarkable climax to what has been a fairly steady race until this point. But Joe Stables has been able to reel in Lee Torrey, and he got there just in the nick of time. There's one more back marker up the road, but I don't think they're quite going to catch it before the checkered flag flies, and so Joe Stables will just have to try and piece together an inch perfect final sector, and he will come home a winner for the second time in succession. He won race 2 at Alton Park last time out, and now he's about to come out of the final corner and see the checkered flag once again to win round number 3 of the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship. The checkered flag goes to Joe Stables. A fantastic race victory for Joe. Second place goes the way of Lee Torrey, who'll be kicking himself after that one. Third for Phil Cooper, and fourth for Richard Stables ahead of Joe Locke. Chris Preen, Mark Boot, Doug Carter, Adrian Reynard recovers to 9th, and Ashley Hicklin is 10th. Then it is Adrian Williams, Robert Rees, David Palmer, Charles Adrian and Mark Grayson, whilst Julian Caldwell was a non-starter.
Joe Stables, firstly, congratulations, what a race win, and also lap record, you've got to be happy.
Oh, it's brilliant, yeah, I'm chuffed for bits with that. Yeah, can have some more.
Well, Lee, you started on pole, you led most of the race. Commiserations on... I'll start again. I've got to say that. Well, Lee, what a race. You started pole, you're leading up until the last lap, but second place still isn't a bad result.
Yeah, I'm fairly happy. Class win for me, so that's okay. Yeah, I was happy for about 3/4 of the race, and then the tyres went off, and Joe is very quick, and I could see him looming up, defended pretty hard, but he found a way through, and yeah, unfortunately it was literally on the last lap, so yeah, my first win eluded me again.